Digital forensic science is a discipline that applies computer techniques and tools to analyze, preserve, and present digital evidence in cases of crime or fraud. In this video, we present top 10 cases solved by digital forensic analysis, where you will see how this science has helped a lot to find truth and bring justice. Do not miss it. The Craigslist killer case. In this order of ideas, we need to talk first about the Philip Markoff case, also known as the Craigslist killer. Philip Markoff was a medical student who targeted women who offered sexual or massage services on the Craigslist website. Markoff made contact with his victims by email and then met them at hotels where he robbed and assaulted them. During one of these encounters, Markoff took the life of Julissa Brisman, a 25-year-old masseuse, by shooting her 3 times in the chest. Digital forensic analysis was so fundamental in this particular case to identify and apprehend Markoff. It was possible by tracing his IP address, retrieving the messages he sent to victims, and finding the evidence on his computer and cell phone, including photos, fingerprints, and DNA. Markoff was charged with first-degree homicide, armed robbery, and kidnapping. However, he was never brought to trial, as he took his own life in his jail cell in 2010 by slitting his wrists and suffocating himself with a plastic bag. James Kent case. James Kent was a Marist College professor who engaged in cybercrimes involving infantile portrayal. Kent used his computer to download, view, and distribute thousands of illegal files containing images and videos of minors. He used to record and photograph the children he babysat in their homes or who were his students at a school in Madrid. Kent was used to share this material on forums and made montages of the images. Police confiscated his computer and found evidence of his crimes. Kent denied responsibility and said that a virus had downloaded the files without his permission. He asked for a digital forensic expert to prove his innocence. The forensic expert examined his hard drive and found evidence that Kent had deleted and viewed the files. The forensic expert disproved Kent and blamed him for the crimes. James Kent's sentence was one of the harshest ever imposed for this type of crime in Spain. The Supreme Court sentenced him to 135 years in prison for making infantile portrayal and crimes against moral integrity. The killer soccer mom. The case of Laura Moreno, also known as the killer soccer mom, was a crime that shocked Colombia in 2012. It was the death of Luis Andres Colmenares, an industrial engineering student who was found lifeless in a pipe in Bogota after a Halloween party. The main suspect was Laura Moreno, his girlfriend, and known as the soccer mom for being in charge of organizing the parties among the students. The prosecution accused Moreno and her friend Jesse Quintero of taking the life of Colmenares out of jealousy and faking an accident. However, the defense of the young woman managed to demonstrate that there was insufficient evidence to support this hypothesis and that the digital forensic analysis carried out by the police was full of errors and inconsistencies. After several years of trial, in 2017, a judge acquitted Moreno and Quintero of all charges and declared the Colmenares death was accidental. BTK killer case. The BTK killer case was one of the most shocking and chilling in U.S. criminal history. BTK was the nickname given to Dennis Rader, a man who committed 10 homicides in Wichita, Kansas between 1974 and 1991. BTK stands for bind, torture, and kill, which was Rader's mode of operation. The killer would send letters to police and the media to mock his crimes and give gruesome details of each one. However, after 1991, he stopped communicating and remained silent for more than a decade. In 2004, Rader again sent letters and items related to his victims, which reactivated the police investigation. It was then that a fatal mistake was made that gave him away. He sent a floppy disk with information about his crimes to a local television station. Detectives were able to extract data from the diskette that led them to a Lutheran church where Rader was chairman of the board. Thanks to digital forensics, police were able to identify and locate Rader, who was arrested on February 25, 2005. Upon questioning, he confessed to being the BTK killer and gave details of his crimes. He pleaded guilty to all 10 homicides and was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. The Breton case. The case of José Breton was one of the most mediatic and controversial in Spanish judicial history. Breton was accused of taking the life of his 2 children, Ruth and José, aged 6 and 2, following a custody dispute with his wife. Breton always claimed that he had lost the children in a park, but digital forensic evidence proved otherwise. Investigators found several deleted files on Breton's computer that contained searches on how to dispose of a corpse how to burn bones, or how to build a bonfire. In addition, images and videos were recovered from the day of the crime showing the farmhouse where Breton burned his children with a large pile of firewood. This evidence was key to dismantling Breton's alibi and sentencing him to 40 years in prison for 2 counts of murder with malice aforethought. Matt Baker. Matt Baker was a Baptist pastor accused of taking the life of his wife Carrie in 2006. He claimed he found her dead in her bed after an overdose of sleeping pills. However, police suspected that he had strangled her and then faked his own death. The case was solved through digital forensic examination of several electronic devices owned by Baker. Investigators found evidence that he had searched the internet for how to commit homicide without leaving a trace, how to fake his death, and how to delete his browsing history. This data was crucial in proving that Baker had a motive and a plan to end his wife's life. In 2010, he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 65 years in prison. Lucia's case. Krenar Lucia was a man accused of planning a potential attack causing terror in the United Kingdom in 2009. Police found several explosive materials in his home, as well as a laptop computer with information on how to make bombs and jihadist propaganda videos. Lucia defended himself by saying that he was a pyrotechnics hobbyist and that the videos were part of his research for writing a novel. However, digital forensic analysis showed that Lucia had deleted some files from his computer before the police searched it. In addition, Lucia was found to have visited terrorism-related websites and downloaded maps of potential targets. This digital evidence was key to Lucia being sentenced to 16 years in prison for preparing acts of terrorism. Munn's case. Michaela Munn was a college student who committed a heinous crime in 2016. She gave birth to her son in the bathroom of her dorm room without medical assistance or anyone to help her. She then took his life and left him in the toilet, covered with a towel. Munn's case was solved thanks to the work of digital forensic analysis experts who examined Munn's cell phone. There, they found evidence that she had planned ahead, searching the internet for information on how to give birth alone and how to dispose of a baby. They also found photos and videos of the moment of delivery and of the child's body, which Munn had taken with her cell phone. Munn was tried and convicted of manslaughter and infanticide in 2019 and received a 65-year prison sentence for her inhumane act. Leaked Navy documents. The case of Hassan Abu Jihad was an example of how digital forensics can help solve espionage and terrorism crimes. Abu Jihad was a U.S. Navy sailor who, in 2001, leaked classified information about the movement of a naval group that was to conduct missions against al-Qaeda in the Persian Gulf. The information was sent to Azam Publications, a London-based organization that supported attacks against Americans through websites and email communications. In December 2003, British police found a floppy disk in the home of one of Azam Publication operators. Forensic analysis of the diskette revealed a password-protected Microsoft Word document containing classified information that Abu Jihad had provided. The document also suggested possible targets and tactics for attacking U.S. ships. That digital evidence was key to identifying and arresting Abu Jihad, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for disclosing information related to national defense. The Boston Marathon case. It was one of the most shocking acts of organized terror in recent U.S. history. On April 15, 2013, 2 homemade explosives detonated near the finish line of the race, killing 3 people and injuring more than 260. The investigation to identify and capture those responsible was a challenge for the authorities, who turned to digital forensics as a crucial tool. Thanks to images and videos captured by security cameras, cell phones, and the media, it was possible to reconstruct the route and actions of the suspects, 2 brothers of Chechen origin whose names are Tamerlan and Zhojar Tsarnaev. The digital forensic analysis also made it possible to trace the terrorists' communications and movements, as well as to find evidence of their radicalization and the planning of the attack. After an intense manhunt, Tamerlan was shot down in a shootout with police, and Zhojar was arrested and seriously wounded. In 2015, he was convicted of 30 charges, including the use of weapons of mass destruction, and sentenced to execution. This video showed you incredible cases solved by digital forensic analysis. Crimes, frauds, leaks, and homicides were discovered by computer forensic experts. Comment below which case was the most shocking to you. If you like this top, don't miss our next video. See you next time.